All right, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is going to be part 2 of a 2-part video series. So the first part was a performance on this here live case. The second part is going to be talking about what I built and how it all works. And if that's something you're interested, please stick around. I hope this is kind of cool. I think it's a little bit different than what a lot of people see on Modular. And I had fun with it. So here's the thesis. I'm going to get right into it. I don't want this video to take too long, but we'll see how long it goes. So, what I wanted to build was a DJ style setup using Eurorack. So, if you guys are familiar with Modular on the Spot or MOTS, they have very specific rules in terms of everything you do for performance has to be in the case. So the idea of this was, okay, I want to do something different. I don't want to just do bleep bloops. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You know, you do you if you like that kind of stuff. But if you guys have watched this channel or seen any of my other videos, you guys know that I really like drum and bass, for one. And for two, I really like making kind of complete music on Modular, where there's like a designed set performance aspect to it. And that way it just kind of gives me a little more interest, something different. You know, not a lot of people are doing that on Modular per se. So I think it helps kind of do things a little differently. Okay, so to that end, what is all this? So this is a very small case to start with. We have an IntelliGel 84 7U, 7 being 2 rows of 3U and 1 row of 1U. And it's not very big, right? This is like about the size of a briefcase, if you guys are familiar with the IntelliGel boxes, the boxes. So how can we do a DJ setup in a Eurorack format like this? Well, we gotta get some help from our friends, the sample libraries and the looper, you know, sample packs and all of the other stuff going on the internet or in your DAW. So this is a DAW-ful setup, if you will, though it doesn't have any, you know, computer connections to it while it's performing. But what I did was I prepped a lot of loops and samples and made my own stuff, sliced stuff up, chopped it all together using Bitwig on my computer and bounced all the individual samples out so that way I could use them with the kind of 2 showpieces here, which are the bit boxes. So as I mentioned, the bit boxes are really the kind of showpieces here. And you can almost think of them like 2 different DJ decks, right? You have a turntable on your right, turntable on your left. Each one is set up identically, including the same samples, the same presets, etc. It's literally just a copy of one SD card onto the other. It's all the same. The cool thing that allows me to do is I can change presets and have different songs per bitbox. And the real special sauce here is that the bitbox can play loops. You can launch clips and start them. This might take a second to come in. There we go. And it's all synchronized in time. Right? Very cool. Very, very straightforward. Nothing too crazy there. But the stopping and starting of the clips on the bitbox is all synchronized in time. So I have Pam's workout, classic, new workout, not pro, both should do fine, but they're both sending clock synchronized to each of the bitboxes. And that way they're permanently in sync, right? I can launch a clip on one side and have it be synchronized with a clip on the other side in a second, right now. How about, there we go. I was late. So that's very, very powerful from a performance aspect, right? Because I can, drop in, choose different samples, choose different clips I want to launch. All of it's going to happen in time, which is really, really powerful from a performance perspective. And everything is in sync, including the cool sauce. So if you see the clock here, right, it's ticking up. And it's going to keep ticking up. And it's going to keep ticking up. And I'm going to go to presets, and I'm going to load a different preset entirely. And it's still in sync. And watch this, when this comes around, It's still in sync, watch. Ain't that sweet? So that's really, like, without that working, this whole set would not function. That's really the kind of backbone of this. You can change presets on the Bitbox. It doesn't lose time. It keeps everything in sync. I can manipulate one, change the preset on the other, like you're changing songs on your record player or your turntable, and it starts right back up where it was. No issues at all. It's amazing. Thank you, 1010, for doing that. This is really, really powerful from a performance perspective. Cool. So we got that out of the way. That's the special sauce here, right, is really the Bitboxes. The next part is the kind of audio routing and what's happening here in this kind of little halo of modular cables. Keep that kick going, maybe, just a little bit lower. There we go. So we have 4 different Versios, which is a lot. We have a WMD Axis, which is a 2-channel stereo crossfader. And then we have an WMD Overseer, which is a performance DJ filter. We have 2 stereo strips, the DivKid Bafako combo stereo strips. We got Pam's Workout. We got some mixer stuff and some CV stuff in the middle. There's a stereo mixer, a 1U stereo mixer, a Duet and Quadrat, which really are just kind of for hands-on knobs, which we'll talk about in a second. And we got a Libre Legio, basically acting as kind of like a final master bus compressor before everything goes out the back. So, how is the audio routed? So each Bitbox has 2 stereo outs. And the way I've kind of compartmentalized it is that anything on the high end, which we'll play in a second, any kind of musical synthy part, atmosphere type stuff, drone stuff, that's all coming out one channel. And then anything low, bassy, percussion-y is coming out another channel. So we can hear, I can cut the bass, because this is my bass drums channel. This is my kind of atmosphere-y channel. So a little bit different than a normal DJ mixer, because these are controlling kind of parts rather than tracks. So it's not like this stereo strip is for this track, this stereo strip is for this track. It's actually happening after the crossfader to be able to control levels. It gives us some EQ. We can drive things pretty heavy on the stereo strips, which is neat. And the cool part is I can use the Axis to crossfade between the two. And so because there's 2 crossfaders, the crossfaders are also split up by synthy top parts on the top and, percussion bass stuff on the bottom. And I can do things like send both of them this way, send this way. So we're only hearing one side of the case. So that's really cool too. Again, performance aspect. And I like it right here on the top because it gives me a little easier access to kind of control that. So the way the audio was routed, we have the top parts from each Bitbox are going into the top channel of the Axis. The bottom parts are each Bitbox are going to the bottom parts of the Axis. And then the Axis channels are coming out to their respective stereo strips. And then those stereo strips are routing up and down through 2 sets of Versio modules. So on the right half here, we have the Versio modules for our kind of softer, synthier type stuff. So we have, right now I have it set up as an Imitor Versio and a Desmodus Versio, so a delay and a reverb functionally. And that allows me, to get some more kind of spacey effects, especially for like that kind of middle, break period where there's, not a whole lot happening, gives me some interest there. And then on the other side, we have this one, which I even forgot to do. That sounds cool. So the idea on the Versio side, or this side, is that we have a polydactyl Versio as a kind of multi-band compressor, because we got drums going on. It's a little bit more control there, a little glue. And then we have a Lacrima Versio, which adds a little kind of like zhuzh, little distortion. Got the chorus stereo effect going on. You know, makes it a little bit more interesting. I think so. And that's fun. But the idea is like the effects I kind of chose based on what sounded good on either side, right? So these are more kind of bassy stuff, in my opinion. These are more kind of top end stuff. And so after that, all of the outputs are routed to the stereo mixer. Again, top and bottom being merged into a stereo output. That's going into the Libre Legio. Again, kind of like a glue compressor, little saturation, little zhuzh on the kind of end finally, before everything goes out to the output. Cool. So that's the audio, functionally in a nutshell. Let me stop these for a second. So from a performance perspective, like that's cool. Like I can launch clips, you know, I can bring stuff in and out, and there's effects that are happening. Fun. What I wanted to do was add kind of more hands-on control for effects and modulation. So what I did, I have a couple things. I have the Acid Rain Maestro over here, which is basically mingling and modulating some effects on the Versio modules. And then I have the Catalyst Flow over here, which is really my kind of like hands-on kind of controller for a lot of the effects. These are all routed to the various parameters of the effects. I have different presets for each, and you can save them, you can manipulate them. It's really cool, very powerful. Lots to explore on there. But fundamentally what it does is there's like mixing sections on how these effects are brought in, different types of like changings of how long the delay is, how tight the reverb is, stuff like that. So that's all well and good on that. And then the other part that we have, and this is replicated the same on either side, and I'll just demo this like this way. We'll get some music going here. Da, 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 da. Cool. So you can see I have these two CV channels going into each bitbox. And the bitbox is really cool because it has its own internal filters, which are pretty good. They sound fine. And I can basically, per preset, I can say this, you know, this sample, this loop is assigned to this knob for its filter. This one is assigned to this other knob for filter. So I get cool like macro controls where I can like take the low end, take it maybe just high, so just the bass side. Or I can do the kind of same thing on the top side too. So these are replicated across. It's the same per preset in terms of where the knobs are and what they do. And that way I can like do some more interesting stuff from a performance perspective to be able to like manipulate the samples in real time, do things like DJ rises off the filter, drop it back in, stuff like that. I can also do that with the Overseer. So the Overseer is on the master chain, so it's doing everything. Which can be fun. For me, I think like the Overseer at the moment is kind of a placeholder. There's probably something else I would swap it for, just because having the filters kind of more controlled on each of these is a little more powerful. And I didn't really find myself needing the Overseer too much or using it too much. So that's kind of it. Yeah. Let's see. What would I change if I would change anything? The Maestro, I like it, but it's not really like, it's a great module, don't get me wrong, but I don't know that I would want it in this spot for much longer. It's cool. It does its thing, but from a live control perspective, I don't know that it's for this type of setup. What I would love to get is another Catalyst over here, and that just have it replicated, and one does one thing, one does the other thing. I think that would be really powerful, and also give me a little bit more HP. Like I said, I think the Overseer I would probably cut. I don't think it adds too much beyond what the filters and the bitboxes do already. And then I think the effects could be swapped and changed, which is cool because I was doing that with the Versio firmwares already, changing stuff around, finding things I like, things I didn't like. But I think there's obviously a ton of effects out there in Eurorack. There's other stuff you could do to make it more interesting. So that's kind of what I would tweak or change in the future. But the cool part about this setup is that all I have to do is add new samples and new kind of songs, quote unquote, and I've added to my set. I haven't lost anything, right? I haven't done any sort of changes to the setup, but it all still works as long as it's 174 BPM. So anyway, that's going to be me. Thank you guys for watching. Smash that like, subscribe button, do all the YouTube things. You know how it goes. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.